Guys, Mars again here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be doing the team building guide for the physical transforming Vegeta EZA that will be coming out tomorrow. This will be releasing at 10 PM UK time, so the EZA is going to be out in 8.5 hours after this. I will be live in 8 hours, half an hour before the event goes live, just as we always are for these new events that drop. So hopefully I'll see you guys there, come out to the stream, and we can grind through the 30 stages together. And then we'll get the actual showcase for him fully EZA'd recorded on the stream. And then obviously we can do some other testing with him and things like that. So hopefully see you guys there for all of that stuff live in, like I say, 8 hours. So the EZA for physical transforming Vegeta, it's a typical 30-stage EZA. Once we get to stage 13, you can see tech units and super type units get the huge damage reduction. So ideally we don't want to use tech and super units unless it's for support or leader skill purposes, because they won't be doing much damage, right? So typical 30 stages beats you, gets you beating of the 30 stages, gets you all of the rewards. You of course get all the medals to EZA the Vegeta, you get a bunch of physical hidden potential orbs, you get 11 Kais and 30 stones. Obviously the good thing about the Kais is you always end up with a few spare, so you can get them to SA 15 and still have a couple left over. And then of course there are missions, which will give you an extra 4 stones if you complete all of those. So 34 stones in total, and of course one of the missions is simply for using the actual category team, which is the Sworn Enemies category. So I'm going to take a look at the category here. It's not particularly big, so this one you're going to be essentially, kind of depending on what you have in your box, it's going to be a combination of very specific characters. You are probably largely going to want to lean more towards basically a full team of one of 3 particular archetypes, right, centered around one of the main sworn enemies. I like the wiki description, right, consists of characters that first appeared in Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z as main antagonists and never stopped being evil. The wiki things are of course not like official from in-game or anything, but some of them are quite entertaining. So as always with my team building guides, we'll be going through the top picks and honourable mentions. If there's any units that you think I missed out or should have talked more about, let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, if you do find the guide helpful at all, do go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So straight away, I mean, as you can see from the top of the screen here, the only actual main leader for the Sworn Enemies category as a whole is the AGL Full Power Frieza from the 2021 Worldwide Download Celebration. He leads Sworn Enemies All Planet Namek Saga for 3 key, HP and attack 170 and defense 150. So if you want to have the the least restrictions possible when it comes to your team building, he's going to be the best leader, because any Sworn Enemies character can then just be thrown on the team and you don't have to worry about them matching up with like another character's leader skill, right? So he's obviously a unit that's starting to become, well, I say starting to, at this point in the current meta of difficult events, he is completely outdated. But Extreme Z battles, of course, are not super hard content, right? So this guy can still have the possibility to do very, very well. You're fighting a super class enemy, so he's getting some of his buffs. So he definitely can be very effective. Probably not going to tank like a slot 1 super very well in the later stages, but just like the Goku, if he does get hit first, he gets the ability to do the guaranteed additional attack. So, you know, in some of the earlier stages, you could very easily put this guy in slot 1 and just have him straight up, like, you know, one-shotting or at least one-turning the phase himself by getting those additional attacks, right? So he definitely is a solid unit to have on the team and is the full-on Sworn Enemies leader. Now, his side banner unit from that year was the 3rd form Frieza, who has a Sworn Enemies leader skill as well for 3 key and 130. Not the highest leader skill, of course, but again, just like the Full Power Frieza, it covers everyone on the category, so you don't have to worry about who's going to mix and match if you run a different leader. And of course, even if you're not going to run him as a leader, despite the fact he does have type disadvantage, he is a Sworn Enemies support unit for 3 key and 40%. So just like the strat, you know, when the units first came out, if you have the LR Full Power Frieza in slot 1 and this guy in slot 2, Full Power Frieza is just going to go absolutely crazy, right, with the support and the links. So this guy, I think, is a must-run on the team if you are, if you have him, because even just floating in slot 3, right, he's supporting everybody else on the rotation. Now, with his leader skill being 130, There is, of course, the option, if you don't have this guy, there is the tech transforming Frieza, who is just extreme class 3 key and 130. So same low leader skill, but covers all extreme characters. So of course that gives you a good opportunity, because every sworn enemies unit is extreme, right? So you are then able to, much like the actual sworn enemies leader skill itself, just run any of these characters that you have, and that will enable you to build a team of full sworn enemies characters, even if they are a mix and match of the couple of big villains, right? So this guy can make a pretty decent stand-in leader if you need him to be. And then of course, even if you don't need him as the leader, he is very, very good. Now, EZAs are shorter events, so you're not going to see him transform all the way up through all of his various forms, but he is still very strong. You know, you go into the second turn, he becomes the second form Frieza, he recovers HP at the start of the turn, he can hit reasonably hard. So this guy, even though you're never going to see some of his later forms, he certainly will be a very solid addition to the team. And then of course, as the free-to-play option, we do have the LR Prime Battle Frieza. Now remember, of course, in an Extreme Z battle, you can't use characters with the same name. So if you use this guy, you can't use the tech transforming one, who arguably is considerably better at this point. But this guy, if you are free to play, if you're missing some of these big options, he will be pretty good on the team and has an extreme class lead of 4 key and 90%. So if you absolutely have to, then of course he can be a stand-in leader that can work reasonably well. So he's an option for you, but I would definitely say you want to be running the tech transforming Frieza over this guy if you have both of them, right? So then we move on to some other options. Now Cell, all of the Cell units are on sworn enemies. The AGL Cell is an Android / Cell Saga or power absorption lead, and then gives androids the extra 30%. So if you use him to build a full Cell team, then obviously you can get a full 200% team with this guy with some very strong units. AGL Cell was very, very powerful when he first came out. Unfortunately, he never really got like the really good slot 1 unit that his team needed that worked well with him. But I mean, he can still be good. And in this example with an Extreme Z battle, where as we've said, they're not the hardest events anymore, he can definitely put in some very good work on the team, especially as he starts transforming. He will be very, very good, and running a full 200% Cell team is definitely going to be effective. Next up, we have the Int LR Cell. Now again, he does have type disadvantage, but with his EZA, he leads Android / Cell Saga for 4 key and 180. So if you did want to build essentially the full Cell team, this guy will be very good as the leader, because he is going to cover all of those other Cell units with his leader skill. So he certainly is a solid option. He also has Extreme Int as a subtype, so you could even throw on that third form Frieza that is the sworn enemies 40% support unit, and he would fit under this leader skill as well. So this guy definitely viable. Even though he's got type disadvantage, I would run him on the team if you're running the full Cell build, even if you're running this guy as the leader, right? Then, of course, we have the Boo versions of the team. So we have the physical Boo tanks, who leads power absorption or margin power, 4 key, HP 130, attack and defense 170. He can still be pretty decent in these events. Again, he's a bit outdated when it comes to the real difficult events nowadays, but for an Extreme Z battle, he should be fine. He recovers HP at the start of the turn, raises defense on his 18 key super, so he can be very useful. And then, of course, there's the STR Kid Boo, who leads Battle of Fate or Margin Boo Saga. So Battle of Fate has a lot of these other villains on it as well. So STR Kid Boo as a leader can actually work very nicely for building a full sworn enemies team. He has a HP and attack 170 and defense 130. And of course, he has type advantage over this Vegeta. I'm not sure if any of Vegeta's super attacks are unarmed. I think some of the early ones might be as well, so that could be quite useful. I'm not completely sure on that, but with the type advantage especially, this Kid Buu will be very, very effective. So the full Margin Power team is definitely a way to go. So you can kind of see there's like 3 main archetypes, I guess technically 4. You can run a Sworn Enemies team, just with a Sworn Enemies leader or an Extreme Class leader, and just mix and match these units, right? You could have one rotation where you have 2 cells, one rotation where you have 2 boos, or you can go for the strategy of building it fully based around one character, right? Like full Cell team, full Boo team, full Frieza team. And these are some of the best units that you can use. We've gone over a bunch of the leaders, but then obviously for like the Boo team, for example, we have the AGL LR Super Boo. Very, very strong unit for stuff like this, right? He's going to be, you put him in slot 1, even if he doesn't get the guard, he's not going to take crazy damage unless it's a super in the later phases. And then he's able to hit, even on 170 teams, he's able to hit well over 10 million attack stat on his 18 key super. So if you are running this guy, he could very easily clear through the early phases just all by himself. So he is very, very strong. And then of course there's the STR Super Boo. Now again, remember, you can't use both of them. So there are pros and cons, of course, because STR Super Boo, he's got type advantage. So he can potentially do more damage without having to get hit in slot 1, because that's how AGL Super Boo gets a bunch of extra attack. So if there are no attacks in slot 1 on a specific turn, there's the possibility that STR Super Boo would actually be able to hit harder. Plus, of course, you know, one is a summonable LR and one is an older Dokkan Fest with an easy A. So some people out there, if you've got this guy rainbowed and then you have the AGL LR Super Boo maybe at like 55%, then I would say you probably want to run this guy, because the higher hidden potential, the team's going to have higher HP overall and stuff like that, right? So you have to choose between the two. But I would say if you have both, like Rainbow, both at the same dupe level, the AGL one is of course going to have the potential to hit a lot harder. This guy really gets going, or gets to be his best, once you get to turn 5 and you get one of the transformations, which is unlikely to be that common in an Extreme Z battle. But even so, he will still be very solid. We have the AGL Boo Piccolo. He's quite outdated nowadays, but he has built-in dodge. He's supporting power absorption allies for 30% attack and 50% defense. So if you are running a bunch of these Boo units, or even some of the cells that are on that category, this guy as a floating support will be very, very effective for the team. And then of course when it comes to the cell characters, we have like the Prime Battle Cell. He has HP recovery on his 12 key super, which is always nice in events where you can't use items. He's pretty good with his easy A, right? He has big bad bosses. He can be a very solid unit and is of course technically a free to play. I say technically, he just is, right? But a free to play option, so that can be very, very good. Then we have this guy from the World Tournament. Now he's a support unit. Remember we said at the start, right? Tech units are getting the damage debuff. So I suppose when it comes to this guy, he kind of really is only there to do some extra damage and has the heal on his 12 key. But if you are free to play and you need to have these like extra options, he can still be pretty solid. He'll be good defensively and can heal you, which will be nice. And then this guy is of course an extreme class allies support. And he raises defense on super. He's not going to be like a crazy top pick, but if you're building a full cell team, I think he could be an honorable mention for sure. And then of course we have the STR Full Power Frieza. Now you won't be able to use him if you're using the AGL one, so if you're going for like a full Frieza team kind of build, you probably ideally want to use the AGL one over this guy. Otherwise you're kind of stuck running a 130 lead unless you're using one of the other like sworn enemies kind of characters, because this guy again, for example, is on Battle of Fate. So if you're running STR Kid Boo, he's on his leader skill. So this guy with his type advantage, he does hit pretty hard. I would say the AGL Full Power Frieza is still going to be better, but this guy definitely can be very good in this event as well. Then we have the Golden Frieza. We only can bring one. Did I actually not bring up the page for the LR? I did not. So the LR, of course, is going to be better if you have him, but you can only bring one of the three. There's the LR AGL, the TUR AGL, and the TUR Tech. Of course, the LR AGL one is going to be the best one. He loses damage reduction as the event goes on, but easy A's are short enough that that's not going to matter, and he just hits way harder than the other two, especially when you consider the Tech one isn't going to be hitting hard at all because he's Tech. So you basically want to be running one of the two AGL ones just as a defensive unit. The LR, of course, actually being the superior option because he is able to hit incredibly hard, right? So he gets guaranteed additionals and things like that. So the LR is the best one to bring. Otherwise, you bring the AGL TUR, but you can only bring one of them. And then I showed them briefly here. Another two options we have is the Demon King Piccolos. There's the STR one, who's just Demon King Piccolo, and the Tech one from the World Tournament that is the Demon King Piccolo Elder. These guys will make a good rotation to run if you have them. Technically, the Tech one here is a free-to-play unit because it's from the World Tournament. So if you're missing some of these other big hitting units, you could run these two together. Of course, the Tech one, a bit of a disadvantage because he's not going to be doing a lot of damage, but him linked up with this guy's going to be able to hit reasonably hard. I would say this is more of like an honorable mention. It's kind of like if you don't have a lot of other options for your team build, these guys could make a pretty good rotation if you need them, right? So going back to the category, of course, we talked about the LR Frieza. I thought I'd opened up his page. There's the Mercenary Tau from the World Tournament as well. I mean, he's not crazy good. There's not a lot of units on this team that he's going to link really well with, but he does at least have type advantage. And then we kind of want to ignore the tech ones for the most part. The int ones, this Frieza, we're not fighting a Goku family character, so he doesn't get all of his bonuses. And int characters, at the end of the day, you do have type disadvantage. There's the Super Strike Mercenary Tau, but he is pretty terrible. I guess if you are running, you could run him and the World Tournament LR, and they'll share a few links if you really have to scrape the bottom of the barrel. There's the STR Evil Boo. If you're running the full Boo team, he is at least a unit with type advantage. He's not going to get his full passive because he's best against Martian Boo Saga enemies, which this Vegeta is not, but he could still be quite useful on the team. And then also, if you don't want to run the STR Kid Boo or you don't have him, the physical Kid Boo, as old as he is now, and the fact that he could definitely start taking some damage in those later phases, he is giving all allies attack and defense 50%. So that is a pretty significant amount of support that he's going to be giving. If you want to bring him on the team and then just put him in slot 3, he could easily allow that rotation that he's on between the slot 1 and slot 2 unit to just one turn the phase in the earlier phases. So he actually could be worth considering. The STR Perfect Cell as well could be, even though he's very old, he's like an STR cell. I should have mentioned the second form cell actually for the, if you are running the cell build, because there's no other second form cells ideally that we'd want to run. Many people are not going to have the 50% extreme tech support second form cell, and he's tech, so he's not going to be doing much damage. He only supports extreme tech, whereas this guy supports extreme android / cell saga. So if you are running the full cell build, the STR second form cell is probably a must run on that team setup as well. So there you go, those are the top picks and honorable mentions for sworn enemies for the physical transforming Vegeta EZA. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Who will you be running? As I said at the beginning, if there's any units you think I missed out or should have talked more about, let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, let us know what is your team build going to be for the physical transforming Vegeta Extreme Z battle, and hopefully I will see you guys there live at the stream as we go through the 30 stages and get him fully EZA'd. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.